In the Kikuchi River basin of Kumamoto Prefecture, the town of Nagomi sits on a landscape defined by a single, continuous agricultural cycle. For 2,000 straight years, people have cultivated rice along these waterways, building an ecosystem tied to the soil and the changing seasons. The local Hana-no-Ka brewery centers its current work on a philosophy called Ubusuna, or the spirit of the land. It is an attempt to capture that immense 2 millennia-long ecological history inside a single bottle of sake. Because sake relies on the mineral content of the local water, the specific starch of the grain, and the native microbes in the air, a region's deep agricultural history becomes the primary factor in creating a distinct, authentic flavor. Throughout the 20th century, the sake industry moved towards standardized manufacturing. Brewing became a highly efficient process, relying on commercial yeasts, chemical fertilizers, and steel machinery that simplified production but distanced the final drink from the natural environment. For decades, Hana-no-Ka followed this path. By the early 2010s, the struggle to compete within that high-efficiency industrial model pushed the small brewery to the edge of financial collapse. After studying at a high-volume industrial brewery in 2014, the CEO, Kiyotaka Kanda, realized his operation could not survive by chasing modern efficiency. He decided instead to treat sake as a cultural heritage that reflects the specific identity of Nagomi. To find a way forward, the brewery looked to the past. They began stripping away industrial shortcuts to reconnect their brewing process with the cycles of the earth. This shift is guided by Nojo-ittai, a philosophy of unity between farming and brewing. Under this framework, every step taken in the cellar is intended to mirror the conditions found in the fields. That unity starts with the water. The brewery draws from a natural supply filtered through ancient volcanic deposits from the Aso region. These sedimentary layers provide a mineral profile that has remained consistent since rice cultivation began in the basin. Above ground, they revived Shinriki, a long-lost heirloom rice variety from the Meiji era. Cultivating this grain today means moving away from modern high-yield fertilizers and returning to natural farming practices that prioritize the health of the soil over commercial volume. By utilizing raw volcanic water and difficult heritage crops, the brewery embraces the natural variability of the land. They trade the safety of industrial predictability for the raw character of the Nagomi landscape. Inside the brewery, they stopped using standardized lab-grown yeast. Instead, they leave the fermentation starters open to the air, allowing wild, indigenous lactic acid bacteria and microbes living within the brewery walls to initiate the process. To house this process, they replaced temperature-controlled stainless steel with traditional wooden vats. The wood allows the mash to breathe, meaning the fermentation reacts naturally to the local climate and seasonal shifts. The final extraction also bypasses modern machinery. When it is time to separate the sake from the rice solids, they use an ancestral wooden lever system called Hanegi-shibori. This diagram shows the mechanics of the press. A massive wooden beam uses the principle of leverage to apply a slow, gentle weight. This method lacks the aggressive force of a motorized hydraulic press, but it balances a rich umami flavor with liquid clarity. By combining wild microbes, traditional wooden vats, and gravity-fed beams, the brewery creates a process dictated by the biological cycles and physics of the Nagomi landscape. Because the brewery relies on wild microbes, their responsibility extends beyond the cellar and into the wider regional ecosystem. They actively fund the restoration of local wetlands, allowing these areas to return to a more natural, biodiverse state. In the active fields, they work with local farmers to implement no-till agriculture. By leaving the soil undisturbed, they minimize humanity's impact on the complex underground food web. Protecting this wild, biodiverse landscape is a requirement for their quality. A healthy regional ecosystem ensures the presence of the robust native microbes necessary for their natural fermentation. This work is documented on every label. The brewery explicitly categorizes the methods used for each batch, noting the use of wooden vats, the lever press, or natural cultivation, so the consumer understands the specific environmental effort behind the bottle. By proving that these labor-intensive techniques can produce a globally recognized product, Hana-no-Ka Shuzo has created a viable case for the survival of ancestral brewing in a modern market. To drink a bottle of Ubusuna is to consume the history of a 2,000-year-old ecosystem. It is a way of ensuring that the spirit and vitality of the land are passed down to the next generation.